Hey guys, in module 3, we're going to talk on NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and how that can affect overall your insurance sales. And so in this module, you're going to be able to learn powerful communication techniques that are designed for phone-based insurance sales. This is going to help you connect with prospects, handle objections smoothly, and close more effectively. Now, again, when we're talking about communication and we're talking about how you're able to build pretty much trust and then authority over the phone, a lot of that is going to stem from how you're saying things, your tonality, and a big thing I like to call mirroring, which is mirroring your client. If your client is talking slow, slow your voice down. If your client is talking fast and educated, speed it up. Right. And so that's some of the things that we'll touch on here with the NLP and how that all plays a role into the top producer mindset and how you're able to sell a lot more by just understanding some of these techniques. Lesson 1, building trust through language. And so with some of the opening call patterns, the first thing you want to do is, of course, establish authority. Like I said, you guys are sitting in the big swivel chair, the office chair. These are some key phrases. I specialize in helping families like yours find the right coverage. I work with all major carriers to find the best fit, and I've helped hundreds of people in whatever area they're in secure coverage. With that, the more information that you know about your plan and the more information that you're specialized in, the easier that this will be for you. If you're not knowledgeable in your field, get knowledgeable in your field. But establishing authority is probably the most important thing in the very beginning of the call to make sure that they know they're talking to the best of the best. Even if you're new, the confidence to even feel like you're from an authoritative position is something that will outweigh the actual position that you're actually in. Second thing that you want to do is you want to create a connection. So phrases like that would include, like you, many of my clients were concerned about XYZ, maybe low premiums. You've already, taken the first step by reaching out about coverage. I understand exactly what you're looking for, something. I mean, my thing was, no one really ever wants to sit on the phone for hours talking about insurance. They usually get a laugh out of that, but just something to where you're getting maybe a laugh, an agreement, feel their pain, and, give them the empathy that you understand the situation that they're in. Now, with that, again, one thing I want you guys to take away from this is which opening pattern do you feel like feels the most natural to you, right? You can write something down. I remember someone says they have dogs. Oh my God, I love dogs. Someone says they have kids. Oh my God, I love kids. I have 2 of my own. At the end of the day, you just want to establish that connection with the client early on so that they built that trust with you in the fact that, hey, this guy knows what he's talking about. He's the best of the best in his area. He said he's helped many people like that before. And 2, he seems like a very, a down to earth person. They want to make you feel like you're real, you're natural, right? When you come across this kind of stuff. And so the big thing here is building trust, because if they don't trust you, there's no way that you're going to be able to sell them, because who buys from people they don't trust? Nobody even makes friends with people they don't trust, right? And so the biggest thing is establishing authority and creating that connection. And you can do that with some of the key phrases that you see here. Lesson 2, presuppositions in insurance sales. And so what that looks like, again, is building future success. So you have what the approval presuppositions are when we get you approved, right? Once we get your family protected, after we get your coverage started. So if you notice about these phrases, the one thing that it's doing, it's the double positive, right? Like we touched on. You are assuming that they're already going to get approved, right? You're assuming that, hey, once we get your family protected, right? It's once after we get your coverage started, you're already putting them in that buying mode, in that buying process. And so a lot of times with agents, they do it 2 ways. They're either too aggressive or they're too salesy, both of which does not work, because when you're too pushy and you're assuming the sale, sometimes what they'll say is, oh, slow down. I was just looking at pricing, right? I wasn't ready to make a decision. And when you're asking for permission, sometimes when you're not going for the close, a lot of times what happens is they need extra documentation to look over, because again, they haven't built that trust in you. They haven't built that connection with you. You're just a random guy talking about insurance to them, and they want it to be something more of a buying experience. And so, assuming, again, once you've built that connection, you've built that trust, you are of the authoritative figure, this is another 100th sale for you in your mind, right? But to them, obviously they don't want to make it seem like you're just another sale, that you're just, every single sale that you do, make it a personalized sale. Just like you're sending a personalized outreach message, make it a personalized sale to the client so that they're not looking at it as, oh, this guy just wants a check, whatever the case is. You're putting them in that buying process. So do this with caution, right? Do this once you've established that level of trust, once you've established that connection to where you understand, hey, once you understand that you're going to be able to help them and you've developed that trust, once we get your family approved, once we get your coverage started, you're already moving them forward before they even realize it. Number two, decision presuppositions. Which payment date works better for you? Are you going to use a checkings, savings for your premium? Do you prefer electronic or mail documents? Now, sometimes, in today's day and age, a lot of this stuff is automated. So when you are looking at the decision stuff, the easiest thing that I do is at the end, of course, you get the start date. Okay, when were you looking for coverage to start? That's just getting their mind kind of racing as far as that is concerned. Do you want to use a business account? Sometimes you talk to self-employed people, you want to use a business account or your normal checking account. Again, puts them in that buying atmosphere. Documents, as far as concerned, people always want to look stuff over and make sure they're making the right decision. Tell them that you're going to have all that stuff sent over to them. Make it look like it's minimal work, but just understand that that could be the decision factor that's going to prevent them from either, buying right then and there, the fact that they're going to have stuff to look over, and or needing a few weeks or months or days or however long to think about it. Handling common scenarios. So this is a perfect segue. The first one is need to think about it, right? I can't tell you how many times people need to think about it. Now, the funniest thing about this is they don't need to think about anything other than the fact that something that you mentioned to them during that buying process was uncertain. Something is within their, brain or their emotions. Something is off to where it looks good. Everything looks good. I just need to think about it. And if you're able to break through that, then a lot of the stuff that comes after is going to be easy because you're just doing the application. And so some key phrases here that I like to use. I understand you want to think this through carefully. That's exactly why. And then go into your spiel about your product, right? Do not, I can't tell you how many times you hear agents, they get defensive. Do not pour emotion into this. I need to think about it. If someone says, oh, I need to think about it, what do you need to think about? Don't say that. That's stupid. You're going to lose a sale because now they think that you're only with them for the sale, right? Another one that I hear, and someone says, oh, I need to think about it. And you go, are you sure? Did everything make sense? And you sound like you don't want to sound like you're antagonizing the customer, right? Because if someone says, I need to think about it, a lot of times what they're doing is they're testing you. They're testing you to see how you are going to respond. If you sound like you don't care, that's going to ease their guard up. Oh, okay. Well, this is what I need to think about. Or this is, I'm sure you understand, right? But if they look at you and you're like, oh, it's like this sales guy and, I'm going to throw this bait out there that I need to think about it to see how it reacts, you're not typically going to elicit a good response back to them if you engage in the bait. And so another common response while you're thinking about it, let me share this. And that's why most people choose to start their coverage date while they whatever. So a lot of times, let's go into scenarios on why someone needs to think about it. Decision maker. Maybe their decision maker is not present. Maybe you overloaded them with information. Your pitch was so long, you gave them so much information that they actually need to sit down and think about it. That happens. And if that happens, I would say go back and re-listen to your tape and listen to your sales call to see where maybe you're over-explaining or where you're going wrong in the entire explanation process. Because a lot of the times when someone says, again, they need to think about it, it's something they're uncertain about. You just have to uncover what it is that they're uncertain about. Now, at the end of the day, sometimes people need to think about it just off of the fact they need to look over the information, right? People are visuals, right? And visual learners, right? And at that point, what I say is, if someone says, hey, I need to think about it because I want to read everything, as far as documentation, understand that they're going to receive the documentation no matter what, right? They're going to get emails of the plan that they picked and the policy that they decide they want to sign up for. And so again, the I need to think about it a lot of times is something to where they just want time to decide if they're going to make that decision. Point blank period. I can't tell you how many times, oh, you need to think about it. Boom, I'll send them the email. And let's say we have an appointment in 2 days' time. And I give them a call and I go and try and give them a call to finish up the process. Chances are they didn't even read the damn email that I sent them. They did not. But they'll still do the application with me because I gave them the time of day to where they didn't have to, I didn't pressure them into buying it right then and there. And so a lot of times it's just gauging the client and understanding that if you built that trust up, they're not going anywhere. If you built that connection with them and they know they can't beat the product, because sometimes they'll say anything about it just to see if you can get a cheaper option, if they can get a cheaper option somewhere else. And again, that's something that if you've already built that trust, you built the connection with them and they still want to do that, understand you got to be confident in your product. You got to be confident in the fact that you did the best that you can. If someone wants to, go out and get a worse plan for a cheaper rate, that's not anything that you were going to be able to stop regardless, which leads us into the next one, which is price concerns. Price concerns, again, many people, this is normally stuff that should be hashed out in the beginning to see what their budget is. But in case that somehow makes its way at the end or during the pitch, a lot of phrases that I like to use here, many people initially think that about the premium until they realize X, Y, Z. A lot of times with insurance, it's until they realize they're in the hospital with a $90,000 bill, right? One common thing that I did when I was selling private health insurance was that I leveraged the other plans. If I had, let's say I had somebody that qualified for private insurance and it was at a preferred rate, but they had to medically qualify, I would show them plans where they didn't have to medically qualify and the rate was going to be more to leverage the fact that, oh yeah, no, most people don't think about that premium until they realize your other options are here, right? It's 1,200 or 15, whatever the number is, it's more, right? Or your deductible is typically a little bit more. Or your network, right? You told me that your doctors, you said you wanted to keep them in network, right? Oh, yeah, well, yeah, they won't be in network with the other plans that we're looking at over here, right? So a lot of this is understanding that be confident in not only plan, but again, the price of, people crack jokes, oh, there's no discount here. Unfortunately, no, sir, there's no discount to insurance. Maybe if you crack a joke here, maybe if you go to McDonald's, maybe I can get you from there, and then they'll start laughing, right? But the price objection sometimes is just to see if they can get it lower. And if you've qualified them and they're your client, a lot of times it's just leveraging the fact that you're selling a product, insurance. Again, it's boring. But more importantly, that if they don't have it, it's going to be more expensive to not have insurance if something happens than to have insurance, right? And so with that second phrase I like to use, the monthly investment in your family security is actually XYZ. So this is super cool when they have families in place, because a lot of the husbands I speak to, they don't care about insurance, but what they do care about is they care about their family. And so leveraging that in a respectful manner, of course, but leveraging that usually renders better results because they're only getting the insurance to cover their family, to cover their newborn, to cover their wife, to cover their other kids, and that's going to be a lot more of a safer area to navigate than to just directly attack the person who is telling you this objection, that the monthly investment is high. Like investing in your family's insurance is always going to outweigh, yourself, right? And oh yeah, at the end of the day, they're like, well, I don't even care about this stuff. I just care about more protecting my family. Hundreds of clients have told me that, and you still close them because again, this is just letting you know that, hey, you're protecting your family by putting your family in this position. Group them together, make it a group purchase. And the last one is compared to the protection you're receiving, this premium is X, Y, and Z. And so this goes back into leveraging the plan and the market that you have. If there is no competitors out there, then again, you're leveraging the plan for them versus no insurance, which sometimes, again, it's rare, but sometimes you'll have the people that will just go without insurance and say, oh, well, I'll just wait until something bad happens to me. You can't help those people. The only thing you can do is just move on to the next. And so those are the main ways to attack the price concerns. Again, best way, what I would say is your verbiage, your tonality, and how you're understanding these two common common scenarios, and mastering the empathy. I mean, empathy is probably the biggest thing that I'll say, is just connecting with them and then reverting back to them in a way that's not demeaning, that's not condescending, but in a way where you understand, but also explaining to them, hey, remember, you're the expert. You're the insurance expert. So you're explaining to them how this is going to make their lives better, not worse. Lesson 3, powerful language patterns for key moments. So during benefit explanations, and so this is just different ways of building up the value. So, hey, the cool thing about this plan is, or what this means for your family, or one of the most important benefits you'll receive is, and this is especially important, these value building phrases, when you've done a great job assessing the situation. So what I mean by that is, a couple, for example, couple travels a lot. They want a PPO network. Couple that travels a lot wants a PPO network. You get to the part where this is a PPO network. Hey, the advantage of this coverage is it works nationwide. And I'm just speaking to the plan I used to sell, but whatever the advantage is in this scenario, the advantage to this coverage is that it's a PPO. So you don't need a referral to go see a doctor. And you can use this coverage anywhere. So whether you're in Alaska and something happens, or all the way down in Florida, something were to happen to you, you can go into your nearest facility, and 9 times out of 10, it's going to be covered, right? And so things like that are going to help. Again, you're lowering their pain threshold, because now you're letting them know, hey, this is not going to be as much of a concern as it was on your previous plan or before you had insurance. And it's just another value add with how you're explaining it, right? What this means for your family is, right? And so if you're going into detail on how, I'll give you another example, deductible wise, right? Let's say they're coming off an employer plan where their deductible was $27,000 for the family, and now you're highlighting to them, okay, look, sir, so for the entire family now, instead of paying $27,000 max out of pocket, what this means for your family is it's going to be a $9,000 max out of pocket, worst case scenario. So if you guys were all in the hospital, the most you guys will have to worry about is $9,000. See, so you're still adding value by also letting them know how the plan is going to be different for them. And then the most important benefits you'll receive. So this doesn't always have to tie in to the situation. It's good if it does. But let's say you're adding in a value add of a telemedicine service, or there's additional critical illness care or accident coverage, something that's bundled into the insurance that, again, makes it even better when you are factoring in their budget and what it is that they're looking for. It's just going to make the explanation that much crisper when you're on your presentation. Again, the goal of what you're looking to get out of your whole pitch is you want to get their pain from their situation, and then you want to phrase it in a way into your pitch to where it's going to be mutually inclusive, that you're solving this for the problem solver. You're this detective that can put everything together. Now, when we're focusing on security focused language, right, this again goes back, it's doing essentially the opposite, but it's also doing the same thing, meaning you're not adding value, but you're taking away the concern. So going back to, let's say, a high copay, right? Let's use this phrase as an example. This ensures your family has to never worry about paying those high expenses and being randomly billed $50, $70, $100 at the end. Again, these are just using their pain points, but now you're tying in the phrases, this ensures your family never has to worry about it. It's a value add by also removing the concern of what they need to worry about. Your protection begins immediately when XYZ, right? Or you'll have peace of mind knowing that this coverage is a full coverage option. So what it's going to do is it's going to allow you to protect you in case of any need whatsoever. And so the security is more of an emotional leverage, whereas the value, I mean, they're both emotional, but when you're telling people, hey, you're not going to have to worry about this, you won't have to worry about this, you won't have to worry about this. This especially works best when they're coming off of a plan that was shit, or they're coming off of something that they had that did not work at all, right? Or like it was intended to, right? So when you build the trust and you build the camaraderie, and then you add in the fact that, hey, You won't have to worry about the high deductibles like you did on your previous plan, or you won't have to worry about your doctor not accepting the insurance like your previous plan. Now you're tying in the pain points of what they came off of onto this new plan that won't have those same issues, right? And so we close that out with some assumptive phrases and urgency creation. Now, what I mean by that, these are just closing patterns that'll help you. So this is going to be for during the pitch. And then once you get to the close, this is, again, getting them in that buy-in atmosphere. And if you've done it correctly, you can use some of the phrases that are assumptive that are, okay, let's go ahead and get your family started. Shall we start your coverage today? Or when would like your coverage to start? Now that we've found the perfect plan, and you're just walking them through the steps of what it is that they need to do. Let's say they're on the deadline and they needed the coverage at the start of the month, or they need it in, now, right? Let them know, hey, coverage can begin as soon as midnight tonight. Let's lock in the rate. Lock in the rate is my favorite way of setting a sense of urgency to the client, because it just sets the tone that they understand that their rate can go up at any point in time. And if they're serious about getting this done, and you wouldn't be at this point if they weren't serious, otherwise you need to go watch the other modules. But if they are serious, we can lock in the rate today. We can get you approved today. Make it a seamless process. So many times I hear people just talking and just running their mouth about the application process or how to get them signed up. And this should be the close should be the part where you're saying as little as possible, because the work is already done, right? Now it's like, okay, well, let's get your application knocked out. It should only take 5-10 minutes. Let's get your application while we have the rates stable. Rates go up. Just using these value buys or ads to create the sense of urgency is how you're able to kind of tie this all together, if I'm being honest, using these languages for the pitch, for the close. And even when we look at the immediate application of it and where we're tying everything together, what you need to take away from this is, first off, just take 2 to 3 patterns for each call phase, practice it until they feel natural, use it on the next call, right? And then from there, track what works best, know the customer's responses, and adjust your approach based on feedback. And what I mean by that is listening to your calls is the only way you're going to know what works and what doesn't work, because you and then your upline or your leader will be able to reiterate back to you how you were able to communicate that. Sometimes it's not even what you're saying, going back to NLP, and how you're communicating to this and how you're influencing people. It is how you're saying it, right? So a lot of these phrases that we went over, we can lock in your rate coverage. I've seen people try this, but if they haven't built up the beginning part, which is building the trust, establishing authority, creating the connection, if you haven't done that, then you're going to get all the way down here, say, okay, let's start your coverage. And then you're going to be confused as to why they don't want to do the application, right? But at the end of the day, some things to remember here: keep language natural and conversational. Focus on building trust. People don't even realize when they've lost trust, and you go through the entire presentation and you don't even realize that they've lost trust within the first 2 minutes of the conversation, right? Use the presupposition strategically. Always link features to benefits and create urgency naturally. So the close should come natural if you've not got all the pain points and you're able to, quote, solve their problem. Again, your success with these patterns comes from your success with these patterns comes from making them your own and using them consistently. Choose the patterns that feel the most natural to you and begin implementing them today. And again, what pattern do you think that you're going to start using in your next call? All right, guys. But that's pretty much it when it comes to NLP and tying that into insurance sales. How you're communicating and how you're saying things to people far outweighs what it is that you're saying or just following the script. Because again, people can tell when you're reading off of a script.